Imagine we open an invisible book where the pages are not made of paper, but of years, eras, and whispers that traverse time. Our story begins at a distant point when the world was young and humanity was just learning to shape its destiny. Some events were so powerful that they not only altered civilizations, but the very temporal flow that brought us here. Today we will explore 5 moments when time trembled, broke, and rejoined in a different way. The first great event came with the invention of writing. Before that moment, we were living memory, fragile and dependent on the voice. But when someone marked symbols in clay, history was trapped forever. Time could no longer erase what had happened with the same ease. Empires, laws, and knowledge were born, traveling farther than any messenger. The past became permanent. Years later, another event would change the temporal flow, the fall of great ancient civilizations. It was not just one, there were many, vanished as if the world had turned the page without finishing reading it. The Bronze Age peoples, the mysterious megalithic builders, cities that now lie beneath sand or jungle. Each disappearance left gaps in time, suspended questions. When time loses information, something new must take its place. The arrival of the compass opened routes where there was once only infinite sea. The second part of this journey begins when time ceased to be just a line and started to be perceived as a modifiable fabric. Each discovery, each mistake, each victory was a needle piercing the loom of destiny. If the first part took us to the origin, now we approach the moments when the historical clock not only advanced, but also bent. We return, then, to the discovery of electricity. It was not a simple finding, but a spark that divided history into two. Before and after, for light conquered the night, machines awakened, and a new notion of time was born. One measured in volts, in wires that traverse continents, bringing an acceleration never seen before. Then came an event that would forever break the rhythm, World War I. It was such a loud roar that the clock of humanity seemed to stop. Borders were rewritten, empires fell, and technology became a tool of mass destruction. But from that darkness also emerged the accelerated advancement of science and communication. The world learned that time can go backward when memory refuses to forget. However, the most radical event was yet to come, the digital age. When the first computer lit up its circuits, something more than a device began to function. It was like opening a second level of time, one made of data, invisible speeds, and infinite memory. Distances dissolved in seconds. What once took years of analysis became a matter of minutes. Humanity entered a new pulse. And then the internet, that luminous web that united minds, cultures, languages. Time is no longer measured only in years, but in connection speed. Knowledge expanded like a universe in constant growth. In this third part, we observe how time becomes something humanity can shape. Each advancement is a new hinge that opens doors to unimaginable futures. After the internet, a silent yet immense event emerged. Artificial intelligence. A thought that does not need to sleep, that learns, analyzes, and transforms data into decisions. With it, time ceased to be linear and began to bend into simulations, predictions, and models of tomorrow. The speed at which. But before we get ahead of ourselves, we must look at another decisive moment, the arrival of man on the moon. When a human left his footprint in the lunar dust, time seemed to expand as if all the past had worked for that single step. It was the moment where history and imagination met and demonstrated that the limit was just a word. Still, the world's clock marked another break when communication truly globalized. Satellites surrounding the planet, messages traveling thousands of kilometers in seconds. Information no longer belongs to a single place, but to all at once. Cultures blend, and time accelerates like a river overflowing its banks. Today, we live in a world where each technological advancement modifies our perception of time. More precise clocks, faster computers, discoveries that compress years into days and days into seconds. We then wonder if we control time or if time controls us. History does not stop, and every passing second is a new turning point that perhaps one day we will remember as another of those events that changed time forever. Shall we continue? Perhaps the next great event is already breathing among us, waiting to become memory and future while time observes silently. No one knows what will come, but we all move toward it. Yes. In the fourth part of our journey, we enter the realm where time ceases to be merely a resource and becomes fragile, moldable, and sometimes dangerous matter. Humanity has played with it unknowingly, creating machines that calculate in less than a heartbeat and systems that predict our behavior before we even act. Time advances ahead of us, as if it has already lived what has yet to happen, and each breakthrough brings us closer to an unknown threshold. Perhaps the greatest temporal disruption came with the sequencing of DNA, a manual of the past written in every cell of the human body. By discovering it, we not only read our history, but learned to edit it as if biological time could be rewritten. Future generations no longer depend on chance, but on scientific decisions. Then came the particle accelerator, a machine that mimics the first moment of the universe. By colliding matter, we recreate echoes of the beginning of time and observe how reality unfolds into unimaginable possibilities. There we understood that time may not be a line, but a network of simultaneous paths. But there is another silent event capable of altering our collective clock, the climate crisis. Climate change not only transforms cities and seas, but also alters calendars, harvests, and rhythms of life. A reminder that natural time is the true owner of everything. If it changes, we change. And as we move toward the future, a troubling question arises. What will happen if one day we manage to travel through time? What story would we rewrite? What events would we prevent or create? Perhaps the universal clock is already waiting for that moment, and we are merely the spark that will trigger it. The final part will take us to the edge of tomorrow, where time will not be observed but chosen. You decide to move forward into the unknown, where each step defines not only who we are, but who we could be, and the universe remains silent, waiting for the answer. Everything changes. Here, in the fifth and final part, we peer over the edge of time as one gazes into an infinite ocean where each wave is a second yet to be born. We have traversed the events that moved the universal clock, and now we imagine what might come next. The future is not a straight line, but an open field where thousands of paths exist. Perhaps the next great event will not be explosive or visible, but silent like a heartbeat that no one hears until it has changed everything. Imagine a world where human consciousness can be stored in circuits, where life does not end, but migrates like an eternal file. There, physical time would cease to be a limit, and digital time would be born, free from death and oblivion. Maybe the decisive change will come with the discovery of life on another planet, for a simple Martian microorganism would redefine the entire history. Our vision of the universe, science, and identity would be reordered like pieces tossed into the air. Then, human time would no longer be the center, but a thread in an immense cosmic fabric. Some believe that the breakthrough will come when we understand dark matter, the invisible force that holds galaxies together. Revealing its essence would open doors to enormous energy, stellar travel, and another reality. What if it is not the future that changes time, but us? Each generation looks at the clock differently. Perhaps that is the greatest event, the emergence of a global consciousness capable of seeing itself as a single organism. War would be a distant echo, knowledge a shared river, and time a common key. Here ends the journey, not a definitive closure, but a starting point. You have observed how history bends, accelerates, and fragments as if time were a living being that breathes. Each event has left a mark on the cosmic clock, and you are part of that story. Every decision, every word, every idea is a blow that builds tomorrow. We do not know what will come, but time moves forward with you. Perhaps one day, someone will look back and remember this moment as one of those events that changed time forever. The end. The course continues.